Good morning, everyone. I'm Kaye here on my homestead in Tennessee. Well, there are lots of reasons to have a meadow. The number one reason, of course, is beauty. And of course, you are providing food and shelter for wildlife and pollinators. You're also supporting the native plant population. So I decided 2 years ago to create a meadow in a small part of my big front yard. It's just down from the flower garden and just up from the lower big crop garden. I know that it's a main traffic area for deer, and I'm trying to steer them away from my gardens, so I thought, let's put it right there. Maybe they'll find something they like there, maybe they won't, and maybe I can grow a lot of beautiful flowers. Well, it's been interesting. You know, it takes about as much work to create it as it does to carve out a space for an edible garden in your yard. But once you get it established, it's hands off. It just comes back, it's beautiful, and you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you want to put in annual flowers like I did, you know, that's an extra step, and each year you will have to reseed probably those annuals, but all the perennials will put down deep roots and they'll come back. Now there's one perennial that comes back it's a weed with sharp thorns, and I cannot stand it. The flowers look exactly like potato or eggplant. You know, eggplant, potato, peppers, and tomatoes are all in the same family, except they have very sharp thorns, and you better be wearing gloves when you handle them. Now they come up all over the yard, but you mow and you don't even notice it. But you know, when this meadow started growing up, I saw on this side, there was so much of this, and I just thought, okay, maybe if I just keep pulling it out before it blooms, I can suppress it. It was supposed to be raining this morning, and so I went down yesterday when it was beautiful and it was sunny and it had a gorgeous blue sky, and took pictures in the sun because the flowers were just so gorgeous. Take a look. Definitely not a monarch. It's like a third of the size. It's pretty. Very pretty. So this year the star attraction is the coreopsis, the lance-leafed coreopsis. And I am sure that I planted that in the wildflower package that I spread on the meadow. You know, to prepare the meadow, you have to kill the grass or get rid of it somehow. You can dig it up. I did that in California, but my yard was this big. That wasn't too hard. But here, this is probably maybe 15 by 25, something like that, I'm guessing. And I had it mowed very short, and then I tilled it with that big tiller around and around and around. And then I let the grass die. I tilled it again, and then the same day we were going to have a rain and a storm in the afternoon, I scattered wildflower seeds all over it because I knew the native stuff would come back on its own, or from the birds. And I covered it in grass clippings that I had just picked up in my sweeper. And well, guess what I mainly grew last year? Yeah, you guessed it, grass. So there were all these seeds in the grass clippings, and I just think, how can I use that as mulch? I used that as mulch in the lower garden this year, just on a couple of patches. I didn't have much, and I just put it on a couple of patches, and it was solid grass. And I'm going, Kay, you're just making work for yourself. This is crazy. So anyway, I am so happy to have a meadow. Consider, you can do a space this big. Once it's established, you can just mow around it, and you don't have to fence it off. You don't have to, after the first year, you don't have to water it because it will establish. And I'm not sure if that's true of Texas or where it's really hot, but you might have to water. But in general, I don't water that at all. And so we'll see how it progresses. And I made a little section for the common yarrow, which is the native yarrow here, which is the white. I dug it up from around the grapevines, and I brought it up, and I made a little patch at the edge of the meadow. I thought it was just overtaken by everything else last year. I hardly saw anything. And now it's just, so it was only about this big, a patch. I have so much yarrow now. I have a big marked off section in the yard. It's probably 8 by 8. It's all yarrow. And then I have 2 main patches of the yarrow in the meadow. Poppy was one of the things that I sowed in there, and I did see only one flower earlier. And of course, I've got a lot of the widow's cross. That is the succulent that grows like a mat over all the exposed rocks, or rocks that are right underneath the surface. As soon as it gets really hot, of course those rocks get hot, and unless you're watering it, it just shrivels up. And so it's just beautiful to see the changes as you go through the season, because the widow's cross has been beautiful now for a month, and the yarrow and the coreopsis are just now gorgeous. I did want to point out, your meadow can get away from you. It depends on how well you manage it to start with. But this area has become just, and the spreading hedge, which fortunately I don't have down there, has just taken over this. It looked really nice with the variegated periwinkle and the plantings that I did. Fortunately, it pulls out easily, but this gets to be 3 feet tall and has all these lovely, they're great for pollinators, but it seems to take over. And you want a variety of things. And also, I wanted to point out that when you have a meadow, you need to have a manicured, mowed area around it with some space, because even if your meadow is this big, you want to make sure it's clipped around that, because snakes, if you're where there are snakes, and I am, they hide in the tall grasses, but they don't like to go and expose themselves in that mowed area. So recently, you may have seen my little short video, there was a 4.5-foot black snake right at my front door because I had let all that red clover and everything was grown up around there, and it felt kind of safe slithering through there unseen. We saw it. I saw it only because of the cat. I bet that's a snake, and it was. So that all got cut the next day. But down there, you know, and also you need full sun. Meadows really need full sun. So I hope that's helpful, and take it away, Kaye. That's what's going on here at the homestead. Consider growing a meadow for wildlife, pollinators, beauty, and low maintenance. You don't have to mow it. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Find ways to support this channel underneath each video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. God bless. See you next time.